Welcome into Dallas Mavericks today. Harrison Graham and Jeffrey Cooperstein here with you as it's mailbag time. And if you want to get on one of our future mailbags, hashtag Mavs, ask away in the comments. If there's enough good questions, we'll whip out another mailbag for you guys in the near future. But Coop, we're starting with Denny Avdia Truther saying the Mavs team looks pretty complete, but if there's one missing from the roster, what is it?
I honestly think it might be a Denny Avdia type. I think a wing with length who can kind of do a little bit of both, score and defend.
Can handle the ball some.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's many holes on this Mavericks roster, but if there was one thing that I think they could use an upgrade on, it would probably be a wing that's more of a 3 or 4. A guy who's, 6'6", 6'7", who can handle it, who can score at multiple levels, and who can defend multiple positions. That's probably what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Nico Harrison has done a great job of eliminating holes on this roster. I do agree, in a perfect world, I would love to move Maxi Kleber for more of a traditional wing and just get a bit of an upgrade there, A, in terms of health, reliability, but B, just maybe a younger guy who can be more reliable as a shooter as well. But listen, this roster is in pretty good shape right now, but yeah, I mean, you certainly can never have enough pieces, so that would be one area I would like to add. What do you guys think is the Mavs' biggest need? Let us know in the comments down below. I think with Dinwiddie here, you've got ball handling and creation covered. I think you're set at center with your two guys.
You're set at point guard.
I think wing depth is probably the answer, adding one more piece there. So, I doubt they'll do that in free agency or in some kind of free agency move because the roster's kind of set, but maybe a trade between now and the deadline could pop up. Booker's dad. Yeah, we know who that is. When it's all said and done, will Luka be a greater all-time player than Dirk? I think all-time player, Coop, yes. All-time Maverick.
I think that's impossible. I think he would have to win.
He'd have to win multiple titles.
I think he'd have to win 3 titles to equal Dirk's one.
See, we always say that, and I think it's easy.
Prisoner of the moment, maybe.
No, and I would want to agree because it's kind of hard to take over the guy that came before you and is just so by far the best player and figure in the history of this franchise. Because that's the thing too. It's not just Dirk as a player. He was such a unique guy. I shouldn't say was. He's still with us. But he's such a unique guy, Coop. And I think he truly is a rare, selfless, just kind of quiet superstar that doesn't like the spotlight, but embraced the big moments. He didn't shy away from it, but he didn't, he's not paparazziing out there. He's not a, Hollywood superstar or anything. So, yeah, it's a tall task. But I think from a pure player standpoint, I think he will surpass him.
I do too.
I think he'll surpass him on the all-time scoring list. He's obviously a better, playmaker as well, and he rebounds just as good as Dirk too. That's kind of the funny thing.
Luka's a special player, man. He absolutely could be a greater player all-time than Dirk. As far as Mavs lore goes, that would be difficult to do.
The likability factor is a big part of the Mavs angle because, look, you and I love Luka, but I'm objective enough to say, if I was a non-Mavs fan,
not everyone does.
I probably wouldn't love Luka.
Yeah.
I'd like his game a lot, but he whines a lot.
Yep.
He sulks at times. So Dirk, kind of hard to dislike the guy.
Impossible to dislike Dirk. And another thing I was thinking about as we were just talking through this question, I think Luka's pretty inarguably the second greatest Mav of all time at this point.
Yeah, I think he's already that. Yeah.
Who's number 3? I don't know,
I think it's between a few guys.
Is Jason Terry number 3?
I think he's in the mix.
Rolando Blackman?
Mark Aguirre.
Brad Davis?
Yeah, Mr. Mav himself.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. The Mavs franchise.
Honestly, in terms of just faces of the Mavs, Cuban's probably 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, he is.
When you think Dallas Mavericks, Dirk, Luka, Cuban.
Yeah.
That
100%.
Now, but if you're going players, I think you'd have to go Jason Terry. Now, Jason Kidd's
up there.
Especially now that he's the coach. I think he's got to be in the mix. You got secondary guys after that. You think of the title team, like Sean Marion, because he was here for a decent while. Tyson, but he was here 2 seasons.
Two seasons, 2 different times.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say Jet if you put a gun to my head right now, but there's 5, 6, 7 guys you could say.
I guess point being is it doesn't take a lot to climb the list in Mavericks history.
No, this is not a superstardom team.
Yeah.
It just isn't. So, listen, we love the Mavs. We talk Mavericks basketball all the time, and if you enjoy our coverage, hit the subscribe button. It's free. And, this time of year, things slow down a little bit, so sometimes we go on tangents, looking backward and ranking some of the top guys in Mavericks history. So we like to have fun here. Hit that subscribe button. Trippy Bull, is this Jaden Hardy's last year in Dallas? Well, contract-wise, as of now, he is restricted, though, correct?
Yes, and I think he was on a 4-year, was he not?
I thought it was a 3.
I'll double-check, but either way, I think it's a make-or-break year. Is it his last year? Maybe not necessarily, but I think he has to show something that maybe he hasn't before. Like, we know Jaden Hardy can score the ball at a high level. I do think Jason Kidd kind of has some reservations about his defense still. I mean,
if you asked me this question, Coop, who is the most likely player to get traded away from the Dallas Mavericks between now and the deadline? Hardy would be number 1. Because, A, I think he has some value.
He does.
Around the NBA as a young scoreability guard. And B, you don't really need him. Like, if we woke up tomorrow and for whatever reason he was out next season, the entire season, I don't think that lessens the Mavericks' chances that much, if at all, to win a championship. And, so...
He is a restricted free agent at the end of this next season, by the way.
So final year of his deal, restricted free agent. I think they're going to play this out between now and the deadline. If they keep him, then... they'll probably let him test the market, I would guess, and make a decision if they want to match. If it's reasonable, bring him back. If not, let him go. But I think if Nico feels the need to add a win-now piece at the deadline, some kind of combination with Jaden Hardy, I think, would be part of that trade, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it would make the most sense. It would be a guy like Jaden Hardy, and then we'll talk about Maxi Kleber in just a moment. But I think he's probably the Mavs' most tradable chip at this time. You can look at a Quentin Grimes as well, who the Mavs could flip later
on. He could be a guy
on.
you could flip. Yeah.
I like Jaden Hardy's offensive ability, but I don't think he's proven to this coaching staff at a high enough level that he can be relied on in big situations.
Well, I just think, look, they signed Spencer Dinwiddie for a reason.
Yep.
Like, they feel like they probably trust him more. So I think Hardy will get a chance to continue to prove himself, but the clock's ticking a little bit.
No doubt.
There. Okay, next up, Scenes of America. Can the Mavs package Maxi Kleber and another piece to go get a 3-and-D wing like Thybulle? Let's go back to the Matisse Thybulle well.
The Mavs are eligible to trade for him now because it's been a calendar year. He was pretty average last year. I think he averaged like less than 6 points per game. I'll pull up his stats
Think about
real
how
quick.
quickly things change, Coop. We were kind of in shambles when Portland matched that contract.
Yeah.
And
Mavs end up with P.J. Washington, and he's much better.
It just goes to show, like, not that landing Thybulle would have been bad, but, like, you just need a little luck.
No doubt.
I mean, you really do when you're running a sports team. So
yeah, Thybulle shot a career best 38.8% in his 22 games with Portland in 22-23. Last year in 65 games, he shot 34.5% from 3 on 5.5 points per game in 23 minutes.
Look, if it was a true 1-for-1, I would think about it, even though I think the Mavs probably like Kleber's length a little bit more. The reason I would, though, is because he's getting older, the injuries have piled up. But if you're Portland, why would you trade Thybulle for a 32, 33-year-old Maxi Kleber who's injury prone? Like, you'd have to add a pick, and I don't want to add a pick for Matisse Thybulle.
No.
So I don't think that's a real possibility. Now, if you want to pair Kleber and Jaden Hardy and maybe a pick for a slightly higher level player, I don't know, maybe Dorian Finney-Smith is still with Brooklyn at the deadline, and you can trade Kleber and something else for Finney-Smith if you want to go that route. I don't know if the Mavs would want to do that, but that type of player who's got 6'6", 6'7", can space the floor a little bit, and in that case, obviously, you know him as well.
Yeah, if the Mavs are to make a move within the season before the trade deadline, I do think it'll be something like this where they go for a guy like Thybulle, a guy like Finney-Smith, who is a 3-and-D wing. It's kind of what we've talked about here. That might be their biggest need remaining. So, and it'll be a guy like Kleber. it'll be a guy like Hardy going back the other way. Maybe it's a multi-team deal with picks involved. Who knows? But I think the Mavs will be looking for a guy like that if Najee Marshall and P.J. Washington maybe don't give them quite exactly what they want.
Would you trade Maxi Kleber for Matisse Thybulle? Type T for trade, P for pass. 1 for 1, I'd consider it, but I don't think that's on the table. If it is, then Portland is less competent than we already think they are.
We know about Joe Cronin.
Yeah, Joe Cronin, scumbag, as Nick Roloff would say. Hit that subscribe button, and again, if you have any mailbag questions, drop them in the comments, and we'll answer them soon.
See you soon.